Hey there, it's your girl Yalanda Winston with Yo Knows Commercial, and today I have a special guest, Joe Keetron.
Keetron.
Ah, darn it, I thought I had it that time, Keetron. Okay, so you're with CSSI,
Correct.
right? So tell us a little bit about what you do there.
So I am an independent rep with CSSI, which stands for Cost Segregation Services, and we have several hundred of them around the nation.
Okay.
So basically we help people that own commercial properties reduce their income taxes through the services we provide and one product we provide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so reduce income tax. That's the big thing for a lot of people. So they're happy to see you coming?
Yes, they usually are. They usually are. It's just a matter of whether or not they can use the increased tax deductions at that time whenever we talk to them. That's kind of the key thing.
So, I was curious, how do you guys usually find your clients? I know one aspect would be from a commercial agent like myself who has a client and want to help them create better income tax strategies. I have to make sure I say income because you guys don't do real estate tax strategies, right?
Correct.
So,
or property tax.
Or property tax. So income tax strategies. So for me, like I would refer a client to you who, I'm helping purchase a property and now I want them to get the most out of their money. And so I'm going to connect them with someone like you, or there may be an accountant that connects their clients with you. But how else do you find these property owners?
So the company I work for, CSSI, provides lead list also. So sometimes, I make a lot of cold calls during the week, which typically does not work nearly as well as networking and referrals. So referrals and networking are by far the best method.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me you can call a property owner and tell them that you have a strategy to help them save on their income tax and they don't want to know about it?
Well, so in this day and time, if you got a cold call from somebody, are you going to pick up the phone and listen?
Joe, I would probably hang up on you.
Yes. So that's the problem right there. That's the problem right
I would
there.
probably hang up and say no thank you.
And they'll say, most people would say, my CPA does that.
Gotcha.
And quite often the CPA doesn't have the resources like we do and the expertise to do.
Right.
So.
We talked a little bit about that with Greg and the cost segregation, how the way depreciation is determined will vary depending. An accountant does it one way, their way, and then cost segregation, they work hand in hand.
Correct. Yeah, you can think of us as a role player, or we supplement what the CPA does. We actually provide the source document that the CPA uses to gather and get the tax benefits for their clients.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
it's a source document that's required, typically through cost segregation and the other things we'll talk about, for that to be done correctly.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so what are some of the income tax saving or strategies, deferments that you specialize in?
So Greg mentioned the cost segregation services, and he went over that very thoroughly. So we also have a couple other things. So one of them is 179D tax deductions, and so that's an energy efficient building study that we do. So basically 3 different systems are looked at: the lighting system, heating, ventilation, and hot water system, and then the building envelope. So think roofing, think windows, think insulation, those type things. So you can actually get a one-time tax deduction as the building owner if you paid for that to be put in place.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be the one that actually paid for those systems to be installed to be more efficient than a standard that was set all the way back in 2006.
Yes.
So if you think about it, any building that's been put in place in the last 10 years, just the lighting system, you've moved from fluorescent into LED lighting, much more efficient. So that's one thing.
Or even motion detection lights.
Motion detectors, and then HVAC, the SEER ratings on heating, ventilation, and cooling systems have increased dramatically, since 2006. So it's something that everybody should explore. And just like we do with cost seg, we do an upfront assessment for free.
Good. Okay.
And then we provide that to them and say, and with our fee for doing the 179D study, and they can make the decision, does this make sense or not?
Okay. Now, is this something that maybe they could do before they actually purchase the building to kind of get an idea? If it was a building that needed to be totally Well, no, because they're paying for the placement of it. So they have a building, and it pretty much needs to be gutted, and they're gonna and they
Renovate it.
know that. Yeah. And so would this be beneficial for them to understand what materials they want to use? Because when most people think energy efficient, they think more expensive. But this can kind of offset that
Correct.
expense a little.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you could do that up front. You'd probably, I mean, we could do the assessment up front and say, hey, here's about what we think it's going to save you, but then you would have to wait until the building is actually put in service, all the work is done before you actually run the actual engineering-based study.
Okay, that's understandable.
Yeah. So, and it's so one of the key differences between cost segregation as well as 179D is there's a little nuance in there that the property owner is the one who always gets the benefit for cost segregation. In 179D, typically it's going to be the property owner, but if you have somebody that builds properties for like this library,
Okay.
so if it's a public building, a government building, a nonprofit type building, those interests, those parties can actually allocate down the 179D deduction to the design authority. So typically would be the architect or a design build company. If they did the design drawings, they can actually get an allocation letter and allocate the 179D deductions down to them.
Oh, wow.
So a little bit different. You can't do that with cost seg, but you can
Okay.
do that with 179D.
That's cool.
Yes.
I like that. So what else is there that we should know about 179D?
So typically, we do 179D studies on buildings that are 40,000 square feet and above.
Oh,
So that's be a pretty decent sized
yeah,
building.
that's
Yeah, and also if it is a residential building, it has to be 4 stories or taller.
Okay.
Okay, it cannot be 3 stories or lower unless the first floor is retail.
That makes sense.
So if it's a mixed use, then it could be 3 stories.
Okay.
And actually 2 stories and up.
Okay.
But if it's a true apartment complex like building or senior living, something like that, that's a residential building, deemed residential, then it has to be 4 stories or up.
Okay,
to be
so
able
this
to
is
do one.
something definitely for the mid to larger
Correct.
purchasers. or
Because it's
building owners.
it's fairly costly to run the analysis, engineering analysis.
Oh.
And you have to use certain computer models that are approved by the IRS. You have to model the whole building, and then you have to basically compare that building versus the 2006 standard or 2007 standard.
Gotcha.
And then you do that comparison, and the computer model base will spit out, hey, it's more than 50% efficient than the old 2006 standard.
Okay.
So it's probably not quite as beneficial from an ROI perspective as a
Yeah.
cost seg study, but it can be. So one area that people need to know about in this area, if they actually started building a building prior to 2023, but did not put it in service, it was not completed until after 2023, that's called the sweet spot for 179D.
Okay.
So there was a change in the rules. It was 2006 up until 2022, and in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act came in, changed some of the scope of the dollars that could be utilized against the per square foot. So it was basically from like $1 to $1.88 per square foot under the Inflation Reduction Act. Part of it got reduced, but they also came in and said, if you utilize apprenticeships and you also pay a certain standard labor rate to the people doing the work on the property, then you can get an additional bonus between $2.65 per square foot to $5.65 per square foot. Big difference.
That is, yeah.
I mean, you're talking 50,000 square feet times $5.
Yeah.
That adds up. So the sweet spot is that if that Inflation Reduction Act kicked in 2023, but if you have a property that you actually started construction on to a certain percentage, the foundation of it, prior to 2023, you didn't finish it until after 2023, and 2023 or 2024, then you're in that sweet spot where you don't have to worry about the apprenticeship or the the other regulation that you have to follow that kicked in 2023. So you can actually get that higher deduction amount in that time frame. So it's only in that time frame where you started before 2023, but you didn't finish it till after 2023.
Okay, so it applies to new construction and existing.
Yeah, and it's the person that pays for it.
The person that pays for it
gets it unless it's a public property, government property.
And then they can give it to the
They can allocate it down.
Allocate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see you have green. How does this green tape? Does it go into the 179D?
So it does not. So a little prop here. So this is green zip tape.
Green zip tape.
That's actually the way it gets packaged, but there are bigger rolls also. So green zip tape is basically something you have to, whereas cost seg and 179D basically are applied once you put a building in service, green zip tape, you really need to get in on the front end.
Oh, okay.
And it really needs to be with larger projects that are $10 million and up in the project costs.
Okay.
So and they need to have a lot of interior, non-load bearing walls, because that's where green zip tape is used. You can't use it on load bearing walls. And it's only on the interior. So think things like hotels, senior living places, apartment complexes, big office buildings, those type things are things to explore using green zip tape.
So what is the green zip tape? Does that take place of the masking tape that they use for the drywall?
Yeah, so instead of regular drywall tape, this tape actually, because of it's a patented tape and it's licensed, so it's a pretty stiff license fee to use it, but it pays for itself because of the tax deductions it can bring. Faster tax depreciation. So basically, it's you put it in place of the regular tape, but instead of mudding and then taping and then mudding, you basically put the tape down on the seams, mud it once, and then you're done. And it actually can be applied more quickly than regular drywall and drywall mud. And then when you have to, if you have to come back later and then actually take the wall off to get behind it to do some sort of repair, HVAC, wiring, whatever, or if you wanted to relocate the walls. Let's say you had an apartment complex and you had a lot of 2-bedroom apartments and 3-bedroom apartments. You found out, well, most people want 3-bedroom apartments. If you wanted to relocate the walls to reconfigure things, you could actually unzip the green zip tape.
Shut up.
Pull the wall partitions off, unscrew them, pull the wall partitions off, instead of demoing them and throwing them in the dumpster. You pull those off, set them aside, reconfigure, and put them back up.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And because you can do that, it gets special depreciation because you can remove, reuse, relocate those wall partitions. They get 5-year depreciation instead of 27 and a half year on a residential property or 39 year.
Wow, now we're
commercial
talking
property.
tax strategies.
Yeah, so typically, on a large building like that, you're gonna see anywhere from 10% to 30% of your building cost is in putting up those walls, because not only the walls, it's also the components that adjoin it and also the components behind those walls that get 5-year depreciation. So it adds up.
It does.
It's definitely worth looking at. And again, you get a free assessment up front to see if it makes sense.
I'm super excited about some doggone tape.
Yeah. Who knew?
Who knew, right? The small things that make number people's happy. Saving people money. And we can spend it too, but.
That's what it's all about. It's about saving people money so they can turn around and spend it in ways they want to. Instead of handing it over to Uncle Sam and him just, doing
what he wanted to do. Right, I mean, because that is what, business is about, understanding what's available to you and that holistic approach to creating that strategy and not chasing it or trying to figure it out. It's having the professionals with you from the start that help guide you and create a plan. I think that's what I'm hearing a lot is creating a plan and not just winging it and figuring it out when tax season comes, because you may have missed an opportunity.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, Greg and I like to call ourselves consultants because we're not in it for the short term. We want to set up a long-term relationship with business owners, commercial property owners, CPAs, anyone else, real estate agents, to say, hey, come talk to us and we'll give you the best advice we have. If we don't know the answer to the question, we go back to the smart folks down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where the home office is, and they can find out the answer. And we can kind of talk through some things with everybody and say, hey, you may want to think about this.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what else? Is there anything else, services that you provide that, would be beneficial to our viewers?
So there's one other one that we do. So the cost segregation, the 179D, and the green zip tape are all related to commercial real estate.
Okay.
And owning the building or building the building.
Okay.
Okay. The other one we have is called R&D tax credits. So not a deduction, but a credit, a dollar for dollar credit.
Okay.
So, but it has nothing to do with the building. It actually has to do with the business process, business operation.
Okay.
And so if someone does research and development type of work, and it can be anything from industrial, construction, agriculture, anybody that uses testing, modeling, simulation, coding, anything like that to kind of figure out alternative methods and the solution to get to the optimal solution, those can all be done as far as an R&D tax credit. So the issue is right now, because of the tax law and it changed in 2022, those tax credits have to be amortized over 5 years.
Okay.
So spread out over 5 years. Prior to that, they were expensed in the very first year. So for small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now.
Okay.
But in 2025, there's a strong likelihood that you'll see the R&D tax credit going back to being expensed.
Okay.
First year.
First year, yeah.
And so it's a much bigger bang for the buck for the small to medium-sized businesses that could qualify. So if that changes, the tax code changes back, and that gets changed back to an expense versus an amortization, it's definitely for something that businesses around here need to look at.
Okay. Okay.
And again, free assessment up front.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So is there anything else that you would like to leave with the viewers before we end?
No, I just thank you for having me on here to be able to talk about what we do. And the best thing to do is just to give us a call, give myself or Greg a call about, if you have some thoughts about, hey, does this make sense going down this path? Do you know of different strategies as far as utilizing different services that might be out there? Give us a call and we'll talk through it with you.
All right. And how can they contact you, Joe?
So my phone number is 256-509-5025. My email address, it's long. There's a couple of them. joe.costseg@gmail.com is one. The other one is, you have to go by my first name, donald.ketron@csssiservices.com.
Now, so you just gave me a secret. I didn't know.
Yeah. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. Probably the phone is the best way.
Okay.
Just give me a call and I'll typically pick up, or that's a cell phone. If somebody wants to text me, they can text me also.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us on Yo Knows. And you guys, if you would like to learn more about 179D, green tape, or the R&D, please leave a comment below and we'll be sure to do a follow-up video. So thanks for watching. I'm your girl, Yalanda Winston, and I'll see you in the streets.